Hello everyone, my name is Tyler, and before this I was a student at the University of Michigan majoring in computer engineering. I came to Galvanize because I had a great interest in the field of data science due to its wide range of applications, and I thought the structure of the Galvanize program was best suited for my needs. Today you and I are going to go on a journey through the era of modern era of philosophy. So in junior year of high school I was first introduced to philosophy, and ever since then I've had a great interest in philosophical discussion. However, in college I didn't get much of a chance to explore this, and as a result, this project was my way of kind of doing that. Also, I believe philosophy is a prime example of ideas changing the world. Whether it be economics, political ideology, or even the freedom of man, these are all ideas that fall under the realm of philosophy and have shaped the world as we know it today. So my goal with this project was to model change in philosophical thought over time. My first step in this process was obtaining philosopher and philosophical text data. I did this through web scraping. I scraped 11 websites in total, got blocked from 3, but it's okay because I still got their data. My initial plan was to analyze the entire history of philosophy, but due to lack of resources out there on the net, I only had enough data for the modern era. So once I got this data, I ran latent Dirichlet allocation on it, which was described a little bit earlier, but as an example, it's a topic modeling algorithm that will attempt to represent documents as distribution of topics. So for example, say we're interested in classifying documents into 2 different topics, negative and positive sentiment. So on one hand, you'll have a nihilist say, life has no meaning. That's very obviously a negative sentiment. But then you'll have an idealist come in and say, life is full of meaning, your mind creates it, and that's very positive. However, a pragmatist comes in and ruins everything by saying, yesterday life didn't have much meaning, but today it does. And to classify this as one or the other would be unfair to that document because it's not a clear representation, so LDA tries to represent it as a mixture of the 2. So my implementation of LDA was first I broke the large text into chunks of about 1,000 words. The largest of these texts was 800,000 words, and running LDA on this large of a text was difficult to do. So 1,000 words is long enough to elaborate on a topic, but short enough where many topics don't get mixed together. After I did this, I ended up with 22,411 documents of 500 to 1,500 words, and from these documents, I extracted only the nouns since I was interested only in thematic topics, in this case, and ran LDA with that. So after much trial and error, I ended up choosing 25 topics just because empirically the topics made the most sense and were the most coherent. If you'd like to discuss this process a little bit more after the presentation, I'd be glad to. And with that, we can go into the web app. So once you come to the web app, you'll see here, this is the landing page, and just by clicking this button, you can start your journey into the modern era of philosophy. So you see on the left the percentage of the top 5 topics for a specific year, and on the right is a map of the locations of all the philosophers that are existing at that specific time period. So you can jump to any time on this slider, and it will show you the distribution of topics as well as the philosophers living there at that time. And say that I'm interested in a specific philosopher. So say I want to see what it was like at John Locke's time. I can just type in his name here, and it will take me to the time period where he wrote his first document. And now let's say I'm even more interested in knowing more about him. I can look here on the map for his marker, and then once by clicking on his name, it will bring up a quick summary of John Locke, a summary courtesy of Wikipedia, some basic information, the top 2 topics he falls in based on LDA, a list of the documents that I have from him in my data set, as well as a list of similar philosophers, which was determined based on cosine similarity of the topic distributions for each philosopher. Actually, one more thing, there's more. So say I'm completely new to the field of philosophy, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I just stumbled upon this site. Well, that's okay. You don't have to know what you're looking for. You can simply just go to the beginning of this here, press the play button, and you'll see as time goes on, the topics change. You'll see the percentages, and then you'll see philosophers pop up as they write their first document. My name is Tyler Lazoen. This is my capstone. I'd like to extend a special thanks to my classmates and my instructors, and especially the Galvanize community for giving me this opportunity. And I'd be willing to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Really cool project. I love this idea of using data science to kind of help someone get an introduction to a topic that they might not have a lot of experience in, but that is a deep and interesting topic. One thing that I think would be a really cool thing to see is, or to get your input on is, let's say I don't know what philosophers I'm interested in. I don't know what's out there. How would you go from a model of me, like you get access to my Facebook page, you read all the things I've written. Could you recommend to me some insightful, philosophers who might have relevance to my modern life?
Well, perhaps if I had information to maybe that user's posts, maybe being able to run my LDA model on that and classify it with different topics and use that to recommend similar philosophers that may represent similar topics and use that as a recommender possibly.
Yeah, I think that'd be fascinating. Very cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a similar thought because as I was looking at that, a lot of what I was thinking of is, how much does the sort of the evolution or sort of the different things that are popular in the philosophical realm influence more of the popular realm, right? So if you could take those models and run it over maybe public discourse, whether it's newspaper articles or tweet feeds or what have you, and just see if there is an influence there, is it a time-delayed correlation or what that more of a comment, but I just think that'd be super interesting. So
Yeah,
very
exactly.
Cool.
That's a portion of the project I didn't get much of a time to spend on because I was hoping that I could eventually see this and maybe see a big change in topic distributions at a certain year and maybe look and see is that modeled by a change in society or some big event that happened in history. And so definitely that's something I'd like to do in the future and maybe add some of that into the app.